Corey B. A lot to talk about on YouTube and as well at OMG Corey B. So, let's jump right into it, man. I'm not trying to waste any more time. I got a lot to say. And look, wrestling Twitter is not being consistent. So I'm going to jump into that. First up, Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre. Boy, it was some scared people. It was some scared folks at the beginning of this pay-per-view talking about, please, God, not Goldberg. People were scared. I told them. It was a morbid curiosity about this man because you can't put it past Vince McMahon. You thought Drew would never put it past Vince. Nevertheless, for what it was, you got some action on the outside, spear to the outside. We knew it wasn't going to be a long match. And they traded finishers. Drew McIntyre picks up the victory. Look, man, for what it was, to say that Goldberg is 54 years old, that was a decent match to kick off the show. It was interesting. It was interesting for all of the wrong reasons, but it was interesting just on the fact of Vince McMahon alone. And you know what? That made you buy every new fall. When Goldberg hit that jackhammer on Drew McIntyre, everybody around the world was like, oh, well, it's over. And Drew kicks out. It's like, when he kicked out the jackhammer, I said, yeah, Drew got this. Drew McIntyre picks up the victory and he moves on. We shall see what happens with him. Move on. We got the best bout machine, the book, blueprint, the draw, the everything. Sasha Banks, Sasha best bout machine, Carmella. And let me tell you, man, these two have fantastic chemistry. I like their matches. And we got a good match here. Reginald got involved. Reginald got kicked out of the place and got thrown out the club. It was Sasha Banks and Carmella. The match went on. Carmella almost went full Lita. Lita had a suicide dive once and she just landed on her face. I bet she broke her neck, man. And Carmella was almost that. Lita was okay, by the way, for those who hadn't seen that. But Carmella did that and she did her suicide dive and she came down on her face. I was like, oh my God, don't be hurt. She was okay. Nevertheless, the finish, man, it was way too sudden. It's like when that finish happened, Sasha Banks picked up a victory. It's like the ladies could have given those ladies more time. There was a whole lot enough to that match. Nevertheless, Sasha Banks picks up the victory, and I cannot wait to see what's next. Speaking of what's next, the Women's Royal Rumble. Now, truth be told, I was far more interested in the Women's Royal Rumble than I was men. I had a whole lot more invested into that to see what was going to happen. Nevertheless, we had some surprises in this one. Bayley starts off number one, and I'm like, okay, this is a good way to get it going. I'm excited. Then Naomi comes out. I said a couple of days ago, it would be dope if Naomi came out. We got what we got last year. Naomi comes out, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, man. I miss that girl. And she had a good showing, man. We had a lot of surprises, man. Shotzi Blackheart, the Tank. How about that? That made an appearance. Toni Storm. Jillian bringing Sexy back. And a lot of things happened. Rhea Ripley. She was one of the stars of this entire match. And at this point, they need to go ahead and call Rhea Ripley up. She's there. She had the match with Charlotte last year. She had the great showing this year. She had the Kane-esque eliminations. I don't know how many she finished with, but she had the most eliminations this year. Kai, we had her out there. And man, how do you miss Bayley getting thrown out? That cameraman, I don't want to say needs to be fired, but one of the top acts on the roster, you missed her getting thrown out by, I think it was Bianca Belair. Come on, man. Nevertheless, I'm looking at this thing, and it's shaking out, and I'm like, come on, Bianca Belair. Come on. And Naomi, I gotta say, man, Naomi and Bianca Belair had one of the darndest, as you can see right there, they had one of the darndest near eliminations. They both slide back into the ring. Naomi pulls herself up, or Naomi put herself up at one point, and they both slid back into the ring. It was crazy, man. But nevertheless, it gets down to the end. How about Lana, man? Getting back involved in things, throwing objects out. We get down to the end, and I'm like, come on. Come on, Bianca Belair. It gets down to Bianca, Rhea, and Charlotte. And I'm like, God, for my sanity, just throw Charlotte out right now and I'll be good. They got Charlotte out of the ring, and I was like, oh my God, it was one of the best feelings of the entire night. Man, I'm happy to get Charlotte. And I say that, man, it's very rude. But it's the booking of Charlotte Flair, to where it's like, oh man, you never count her out. And she was out. Comes out of Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair goes on to pick up the win. And look, they won't show this on the replay. I got news for y'all. Bianca Belair's feet touched down, both of them. When they were both hanging off of that edge there, Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair's feet came down, both of them. But we can look past that because Bianca Belair won. And look, ladies and gentlemen, at WrestleMania, we get Black Girl Magic. Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks. Look, they could go with Bianca and Asuka. And I mean, under any other circumstance, that would be a hell of a match, hell of a feud. But no, you know what we want. You know why we're here. Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair. It's going down. And dare I say, that should be the main event. That's my take. That is my take. Moving on takes. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Man, this is a crazy match. This was a crazy match. Like, we had some crazy table spots. They got on the ledge again. Stay off of the ledge. Stop climbing on ledges for my nerd's sake. Kevin Owens took a 6 spot through the table. And we had darn near everything in this match. Like, when I get a last man standing match, okay, let's make it crazy. It's last man standing. Anything goes. Any type of anything goes matches. I make it crazy. And this was exactly what this was. We had a golf court. Roman Reigns ran that man over with a golf court. My goodness. And it was a sick bump, man. Like, it was Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara-esque, shall I say. Kevin Owens put up the forklift, and doggone it, he did a plancha, a senton, through the table on Roman Reigns. And at that point, I was like, you know what, this match may be over. But the ultimate spot, Roman Reigns gets handcuffed. Oh my goodness, for the crap show. So Roman grabs the ref, and he's just standing there, and he gets rid of the ref. So here comes Paul Heyman, of course, to unlock him. He goes to unlock him, and Paul Heyman is struggling. And out of nowhere, he told the other ref to come in, so the other ref is just standing there, so he has to count. So the ref is counting, and clearly, I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's no way in hell Paul Heyman is going to get the cups off in time. So the referee had to stop his count, and the announcing stopped. It was so bad to where it was funny. Like, that poor ref had no choice. It's either you going to stop the count or you going to do something insanely stupid. So the ref had to stop the count. Paul Heyman finally gets the cups off. Roman Reigns chokes out Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns keeps the title. He moves on to what? We're not sure yet. We shall see. Moving on, it was a hell of a match. I don't know where Kevin Owens goes. That's a better question. Where does he go? Moving on, we had the Men's Royal Rumble, and for whatever reason, I was sitting back saying, I don't know what the hell is going to happen here. The Women's Royal Rumble felt like, it was Bianca Belair's time. This one, I had Daniel Bryan. It felt like it was Daniel Bryan's time, but at the same time, I was like, you never know. We got Edge versus Orton, and to start, it immediately went to the outside, and on one hand, I love it. Like, Edge is there, there's Orton, and like, Edge is, one of his primary focuses is clearly winning the Rumble. The other one should be trying to end Orton's career. So I get it. Orton kicked him off had him out on the show for a year, so they went at it. The only problem was this. What was going on the outside became far more interesting than what was going on the inside. I was like, man, let's get the cameras on Edge and Orton. So Orton goes to the back, and it's like, okay, you can tell Orton's going to be back out. Nevertheless, we got some surprise appearances. Carlito, Caribbean Cool came out. Damian Priest, they really booked Damian Priest solid in this Royal Rumble. I absolutely love what they did with Damian Priest. And I don't get a chance to praise WWE very much, but I will right here. Great job of making Damian Priest look like a main player. I love it. Speaking of players, Bad Bunny came out and he hit a suicide dive on Miz and Morrison. And man, when I tell you he almost slipped, he barely made it over that top rope. He barely made it because he almost slipped. A good crossbody nonetheless from the top rope. So we get down throughout the match. Dominic is in. He got an elimination. They told a good story there. The Royal Rumble is like one of few matches to where you can tell like 10, 20 stories in like one match. And they told a story that Baron Corbin was destroying Dominic. He got his revenge, and that was well done. We got a surprise appearance from the Hurricane, and man, how about Christian coming back? I heard that music, and I said, what the hell is Christian? And it's not many things that can make me feel like a kid again. One of them is wrestling and wrestlers coming back from debilitating injuries. Like, I get joy out of that to see them getting to do the thing that they love in. And Christian, I mean, I hope he's back. I don't know if that's part-time or not, or just the Rumble or not. I hope if the dude can wrestle, he needs to be back. If WWE needs to have him back. Nevertheless, we got Seth Rollins coming back as well, number 29. And all is right within the world. We got Seth back on SmackDown. I absolutely love it. Daniel Bryan gets tossed out. And from there, I'm like, man, Seth Rollins has to win, right? Because nobody else makes sense. So he gets down to Seth and Edge. Here comes Orton. Edge throws out Seth. And we're getting it back and forth with Edge and Orton. And Edge wins the match. Like, that is the most shocking, no hyperbole here. Edge winning that match. This is the most shocking Royal Rumble winner in the entire history of the Royal Rumble. That's my take. That's the way I feel. Like, I'm going through the litany of Royal Rumble matches in my head, trying to think of this off the top of my head. There hasn't been any Royal Rumble winner to where I've been that shocked. Sure, there's been surprising winners. Sure, there's been shocking winners, but not something like that. Literally, well, let me say not literally. Almost nobody had Edge winning that match. And for as much as I love Edge, like I love Edge, I'm about to get into a take here. But we got to be consistent, y'all. When he won, I was excited because, you know what? I was caught up in the moment big time. And I said, put the belt on him because I still feel that way despite what I'm about to say, because you're going to have an old dude go one to the end. What's the point in not putting the belt on him? But if we're going to be out here saying old bird, old bird, old bird, we better be out here saying old Edge, old Edge, old Edge. And like, look, old bird is 51. Edge is 47. And while he looks more committed than most part-timers, he's a part-timer. And as much as we love Edge, as much as he is a tremendous person, at the end of the day, he's an old dude taking up a spot from a full-time roster guy. And not just the spot, a Royal Rumble win. Like, at the end of the day, people keep saying, like, I see immediately on social media, oh, Edge and Roman Reigns, that's the money match. Like, Daniel Bryan, we just gonna forget about that? Like, I'm gonna sit up here and say Daniel Bryan, I'm gonna always say that a full-time roster member will benefit from a Royal Rumble win more than a part-time great. I'll sit up there and say that all the time. And Daniel Bryan could have benefited from winning that Royal Rumble way more than Edge could have. If it's Edge and Roman Reigns, like, that sucks because Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns is the better story to me, and Daniel Bryan should have won the Rumble. That's just me. If it's Edge and Drew McIntyre, then what are we doing here? What are we doing here if it's Edge and Drew McIntyre? We could have just ran that regardless. But if it is Edge and Drew McIntyre, we're not telling the story that is Edge versus Randy Orton. No matter who he chooses. If it's not Orton, then we're not. We spent all of that Rumble. Randy Orton getting his tail beat. Randy Orton going into the back. Randy Orton appearing to try to beat up Edge. Edge throws him out. You really think that's going to be the end of this? Because I got news. Edge is not going to face Roman Reigns. Edge is not going to face Drew McIntyre. My prediction now, before we even get to Monday Night Raw, is that Edge is going to face Randy Orton. Randy Orton is going to beat Drew McIntyre for the world title. How this is going to happen, I have no idea. But it makes no sense to have the story that is Randy Orton and Edge at this point and relive it, get back into it again, and not finish the story at WrestleMania. At this point, that's what it is. And if Drew McIntyre loses to Randy Orton, it's gonna be a lot of pissed off people, including myself. Like, we're talking about Edge and Randy Orton, sure, they're great. They don't need a title to tell that feud if it goes that route. Nevertheless, with the guys that we have now, Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre. On one end, Daniel Bryan makes the better story against Roman Reigns. On the other end, if you're doing Edge and Drew McIntyre once again, it is no point to have Edge with the Royal Rumble. A full-time roster member deserves that. And like I said, if we're going to be out here talking about Goldberg, y'all better be out here talking about old Edge, old 47-year-old Edge. That's my take. Let me know what you think. Whether that be on Twitter, at 2SweetPod, that's the number 2, SweetPod, or at OMG